So, the object of this video is to illustrate how to set up a Google form. First thing is in G Drive is to open up a form, so go to Create and click Form. It's quite simple in the way that it's set out, in the sense that all you need to know is how to use this button, this button, this button, this button, and this button. So all you need to know is essentially this row of buttons. So Edit Questions is the menu we are in at the moment, where you can edit some questions, and let's try and make a couple. So let's call the form Test Form. And now I need to set up my questions. Let's make the first question a normal question about what the person's first name is. And what we really would want that to be is text, so that's just a quick little text box you would have, and you simply make it a required question. That's important as well. And you can say done, and that's it. If you want another question in there, another item, you click Add Item. Let's put a paragraph in there, so that is essentially a longer bit of writing than what would otherwise be required in a normal box. So, why do you love Kellogg's cornflakes? So that's a bit essayaic, so you're requiring people to write a little bit more, and you can write a help text. Let's make it a required question as well. And a little tip here is that these buttons are quite useful. Here you can delete the question if you didn't like it. This is an exit button, which we are doing at the moment, so you don't have to press this. But if you quite like what you've done here already, you could choose to copy this option. So now you get the same thing again, and often in a questionnaire you would have lots of the same types of questions, for example, that would require you to write a lot. In this case, a paragraph question. So, why do you love Frosties instead, maybe? And of course, a benefit is that all of the little things like the tick in the required question is already in there. So let's say done. Other things that would be nice to have in here would maybe be a multiple choice question. So these, of course, down here is the different type of options that you would be able to choose in a multiple choice. Let's make it again a required question. And a fourth option, which is pretty neat as well, is this scale, where you could put the scale as 1 is totally disagree, and 5 is totally agree. Let's call it strongly instead. So the question could be, I love jazz. And so if the user chose 1, they would strongly disagree, and they choose 5, they would strongly agree. Make it a required question again. And that's it. So this would be our form. So now we've edited the questions we want. No, let me just go down here. Once you've done the questionnaire, it would say your response has been recorded, but you can edit this if you like. And down here, this is pretty neat as well. You can provide a link to everyone's results if you click this option as well. I quite like that. I think that's pretty neat. So you can see when you filled out the form what everyone has been saying. Anyway, we made our questions here. So let's change the theme. And over here pops a menu, and let's take something that looks a bit study-ish, like coffee and other bits. Very nice. We don't need to view responses yet because we don't have any responses, but we could say view live form to see what it looks like. And up comes this form, and that's what it looks like. Very nice. You can go back in and edit this form, but of course this is a new tab, so you can just go back to this form again. So now I want to share the form, and I want to share it on Moodle. So I would say send form, and I could then choose the link in here. So I will press Ctrl+C and copy it. And then going into Moodle, I would simply add a URL. So save and return to course. And if I now go and click on the link, up pops the form. If I filled one out, like this, and said submit, and you can see that you've now been told that it has been accepted, the form query. Now in here, I said before that there was this button called view responses. So if you click on this now, a new spreadsheet will pop up with my result in. As you can see here, all the information has been populated in here. And if you wanted to, you could share all of the answers as well. So you could share this spreadsheet here. Obviously, when it's one answer, it's not particularly interesting, but when 25 people have maybe replied something back, that could be interesting to share. In this case, you would simply go and click on the share button, like with any other example that you would use, in principle anyway. And up comes, you could say get shareable link, and you could copy that up on Moodle, for example. Done. Another thing that's quite interesting is if you go under responses and click summary of responses, up pops a very neat little summary of responses. Again, it's only one response in this case, so it's not particularly interesting, but of course it becomes much more interesting when you have lots of responses. So that is essentially the key bits of information that's worth knowing about using forms with Google.